Greetings, my friends, and happy Easter Sunday to you. It's been a while since I've done a podcast, but I wanted to do a special Easter Sunday podcast and talk a little bit about Jesus Christ and how we used to be one nation under God, and hopefully we will be again soon. For those of us who are Christians and believe in Jesus Christ, this is one of the most important days of the year. This, along with Christmas, the birth of Jesus. And unfortunately, many holidays really aren't holidays anymore. Not like they were back when I was a kid. Back when I was a kid, most stores were closed. Families got together. It was unusual not to get together with families and celebrate Easter Sunday or Christmas Day. And unfortunately, that seems to be drifting away a bit. Obviously, many of us still do, but not nearly as many as used to in the past. And I honestly believe that's why we're drifting as a nation, why things are as bad as they are today. So many people have replaced God with other things. Could be sex, could be drugs, alcohol, you name it. Buying material goods. So many things we buy today that we don't even need or don't even use. It's as if we're trying to fill a gap, something that's missing inside of us, to replace God. And all the problems we face as a nation today, obviously a vast majority of them, I believe, are because we're steering away from God as a nation. Now, the old saying, one nation under God, that obviously doesn't mean that everybody in the country believes in God or has to believe in God. But a vast majority of Americans did at one point, and maybe they still do today, but you wouldn't know it based on the way people act. And what we have to do to change course is instill in our children a belief in God. Teach them that God does exist. Introduce them to the Bible at a young age. Maybe with a children's Bible if they have them. I'm not sure if they do. They probably do. Because young ones obviously can't read a regular Bible. If you give a 5-year-old a Bible, 6-year-old, however, whatever age that kids start reading at, they're not going to understand any of it really. And it's going to take time. It took a long time for us to drift away from God, and it's going to take a long time to reverse course. It took decades to get to where we are today, where basically anything goes. It's as if robbing, raping, stealing, murdering is no longer considered wrong in many cases. We have district attorneys in that, like the guy in New York who's prosecuting Donald Trump right now. If you've been following the news at all, you probably know that this guy is very soft on crime. Violent crime in New York City often goes unpunished. They'll just let people off, after robbing people, even raping them. They get very light sentences, or sometimes they just get let go free. And this is unacceptable. You can't let somebody go and punch somebody in the face and steal their jewelry to just, let them out of jail the next day and say, okay, you're free. There has to be consequences for doing things like this. Now, of course, you don't need to be a believer in Jesus Christ to have a moral compass, per se. You can know right and wrong if you're an atheist. You can know the difference between right and wrong, that you don't steal from people, you don't, act violently against them in any way, shape, or form. But those of us who do believe in Jesus Christ and read the Bible get our morality from the book itself. That's where it all stems from. Even if you learned from your parents, your grandparents, friends, relatives, the difference between good and bad, it all came from the Bible. So to help get us back to where we used to be, one nation under God, I suggest that we start trying to live better lives ourselves. You know, show God's existence through example. Show God's love through example. By helping others, by being kinder to others, by not hating others, by not making fun of them on Twitter. And some of these things are tall orders because it's very easy to slip and do the wrong thing. And we all do it. We're all sinners. But we've got to try to do better. And the best way to do that is to pray for God, ask Him for forgiveness, and ask Him to help us lead a better life. As for me on this Easter Sunday, I'm going to be doing a good amount of praying, which I must admit I haven't done much at all lately, praying at all. And that's obviously not a good thing, because I've noticed in the past, when I've prayed in earnest, my life ends up changing for the better, mainly because I change. And when you yourself change, make changes for the better, it affects people around you, everybody in your life, your family, your friends, and just even strangers you meet on the street. You're nicer to everybody. You're much more at peace with yourself. And of course, it doesn't mean you won't have any problems in life. We all have problems to one degree or another. But you're much more able to deal with them when you're calm, rational, and know that God is there, looking out for you. And again, I truly believe we need to do this as a people, as a nation, to get back to God. Because things were obviously much better in that regard when we were a nation under God. You had much less crime. People knew wrong from right better than they do now. Had to clear my throat there. And even atheists, many atheists who don't believe in God, acknowledge that we were much better as a country back when more people believed in God and followed the Lord. There was much less strife than we have today. I mean, all the stuff that's going on in the world today, all the crazy things we're dealing with in 2023, most of this stuff would have never happened, say, 50 years ago. And it's happening because we're drifting as a nation. So I'm going to wrap this up on Easter Sunday. And again, I'm going to be doing some praying today. And I hope you will do as well if you're a believer. And talk to God today. Thank Him for dying for our sins. And I'll talk to you soon again, my friends.